is something that I've been thinking about and I've been concerned about for a long time now. And that's what I like to call the great overcorrection. Last week we talked about the controlled demolition of our society. This week we're going to talk about the great overcorrection. And these two things kind of go hand in hand with one another. The great overcorrection is basically modern sane Americans fighting fire with fire. And it's happened throughout our history. That's how I know it's bound to happen again. Here's my thing. I get called right-wing all the time. And I'll be the first to tell you, my personal views, I'm probably more right than left. I am more right than left. I am. I'm center. I'm right of center. Now, I'm far from the Republican conservative mainstream on a lot of issues. I don't agree with them on how they go about handling drug policy for the most part. I don't agree with them on like same-sex marriage rights. I don't agree with them on, well, I guess the traditional neocon view of war, but that seems to be changing now. But there's things I don't agree with them on. This show, however, it's not a right-leaning show or a left-leaning show. The point of this show is to make fun of the pure insanity that goes on in the world, to point out the nonsense and to make fun of it. Sometimes we do it in a funny, humorous way. Sometimes we're serious because it's serious stuff with real-world consequences, right? So we take the ridiculousness that's going on in the world and we point it out. Right now, 90% of that's coming from the left. So yes, it probably is a right-leaning show at the moment. If I would have done this show 20 years ago, they would have called me a bleeding heart liberal. Like I'm somewhere in the middle of like a 2004 Bush-era Democrat and a Ron Paul Republican. You get to figure out where to fill in the blanks there. But it's not... The left is the ones right now that's pushing, gender change, sex changes for kids. That's pushing, the insane COVID lockdowns. They're the ones that have let crime run rampant through the city. You look at these super liberal cities where basically anarchists and homeless people have just taken over entire blocks. It's still going on. I know the Chaz that we heard about in Portland was a big deal. But if you look at like cities like Denver, I don't know when the last time you've been to Denver is, but the homeless literally take over entire blocks there, and they don't do anything to stop it. When they're the ones pushing this insanity, when child drag shows, right? And then this nonsense of shipping all your money to Ukraine. When they're the ones that are pushing 90% of the nonsense, they're going to get 90% of the jokes on this show. Now, if it was 20 years ago, 25 years ago, where Dungeons and Dragons made you shoot up schools, Marilyn Manson was responsible for Columbine, Reefer Madness, the gays are going to be the downfall of mankind, and you can't question the Iraq war. They both have wars, right? Ukraine, Iraq, you can't go against the grain on that one. But we'd be making fun of that because that's just almost as ridiculous as most of the crap we're hearing here. Today's woke liberals are 20 years ago's 90s Christian conservatives.